Listen close. Most victims realize too late that nature's greatest predators don't have claws, they have smiles. Elara didn't look back because she knew if she looked back, the spell would be complete. Behind her, in the absolute blackness of the Valley of Whispers, she heard the sound that would haunt the Atlas for eternity, a wet, rhythmic thumping. It was the sound of a human throat trying to scream while a beast's jaw was trying to feed. To understand how the village of Omuwa vanished from the map in a single night, we have to go back to the beginning, back to the night the traveler arrived. The village sat where the red earth meets the clouds. It was a place of iron and tradition. On the night of the red moon, the air didn't just carry the scent of roasting goat and fermented palm wine. It carried a warning. The drums had been beating since midday, a heavy, grounding rhythm that usually meant safety. But Elara, the daughter of the village's finest weaver, felt a hitch in the beat. She sat near the communal fire, her fingers absent-mindedly twisting a piece of raw silk. She was the village's eye, the one who noticed when a storm was coming before the clouds even gathered. Then, the drums stopped. Not because the song was over, but because the atmosphere had simply vanished. The birds in the canopy went silent. The wind died. Even the crickets, who usually sang the loudest at dusk, choked on their own songs. Out of the tall elephant grass stepped a figure that shouldn't have existed. He was draped in silks the color of dried blood, embroidered with gold thread that seemed to catch the light even where there was none. He was tall, impossibly tall, and his face was a masterpiece of human symmetry. He called himself the Traveler. His voice wasn't just a sound, it was a physical sensation. It felt like the low vibration of a cello played in a small room. It was warm. It was honey. It was a lie. The elders, usually wary of outsiders, were under his spell within seconds. He didn't just walk into the village. He glided.
In the time of our ancestors,
He told stories of a kingdom to the south where the rivers ran with liquid silver and no one ever grew old. Elara watched him dance. He moved with a grace that was beautiful, yet wrong. His joints seemed too fluid, his spine too flexible, and he never, not once, turned his back to the elders. He circled the fire like a moon orbiting a planet, always facing his audience, his thick, matted mane of hair swinging behind him like a heavy, dead weight. While the village cheered and the young women whispered his name, Elara noticed the dust. Where the traveler stepped, the grass didn't just bend, it withered. It turned gray and brittle in seconds, as if his very presence was draining the life from the soil. Elara felt a cold knot in her stomach.
Nia, please look at me.
She leaned over to Nia, her childhood friend, who was staring at the traveler with wide, glassy eyes. Nia was smiling, but it wasn't her smile. It was too wide, too fixed. Nia, Elara whispered, gripping her friend's wrist. Look at the grass. Look at his feet. Something is wrong. Nia didn't look down. She didn't even blink. She just pulled her arm away, her gaze never leaving the traveler's face. You're hurting me, Elara, Nia murmured, her voice dreamy and distant. Why can't you just enjoy it? He chose us. He brought gifts for us. He hasn't brought gifts, Elara hissed, urgency creeping into her voice. He's brought silence. Can't you hear it? The forest is dead quiet. Nia finally turned to her, but her eyes were cold. You're just jealous, she said,
her voice dripping with a sudden, unnatural venom. "You're jealous because he didn't dance with you. Go home, Elara. Don't ruin this." Elara recoiled as if she'd been slapped. Nia had never spoken to her like that. The air between them felt thick, charged with a static electricity that made the hair on Elara's arms stand up. She realized then that the traveler wasn't just charming them, he was infecting them. Desperate, Elara pushed through the crowd. She needed authority. She needed someone who could stop this. She found her father, the village elder, sitting near the front of the circle. He was holding a heavy golden goblet, a gift from the stranger. Her father was a man of logic, a man who measured thread and weighed grain. Surely he would see the truth. "Father," Elara pleaded, kneeling beside him, "we have to send him away. Please, look at the fire. It's burning green when he steps close. And the dogs have run into the bush. They're terrified." Her father took a long drink from the golden cup. A droplet of red wine ran down his chin, looking alarmingly like fresh blood in the firelight. He looked at Elara, but his eyes were unfocused, swimming in a haze of pleasure. "Hush, child," he slurred, waving a heavy hand. "The traveler brings prosperity. Look at this gold, pure gold. He says there is a mountain of it where he comes from. He is going to take us there." "Father, there is no mountain," Elara cried, grabbing his shoulder. "He's not a man. He never turns his back. Have you noticed? He walks backward when he leaves the circle."
Her father shoved her away, harder than he meant to. "Enough," he barked. "You shame me with your fear. Go to your hut. Leave the men to talk of the future." Elara scrambled back into the shadows, her heart hammering against her ribs. She was alone. The infection was complete. The fathers were blinded by greed, and the youth were blinded by lust. The trap had snapped shut, and she was the only one who heard the click. Then the feast began. Elara watched from the darkness of the tree line. The traveler didn't use his hands like the others. He tore at the meat with a ferocity that made her stomach turn. He swallowed bones whole, the sound of them crunching audible even over the laughter of the tribe. It was a wet, grinding sound, like a millstone crushing gravel. And then the torchlight caught his mane of hair as he tilted his head back to laugh. That was when the final veil dropped. Nestled in the nape of his neck, hidden by the grease and the dark curls, a large amber eye with a vertical pupil blinked. Once. Twice. It wasn't looking at the fire. It wasn't looking at the food. It was looking directly at Elara. She tried to scream, but her voice was gone. The Kishi's pheromones were filling the air now, a sweet, cloying scent like rotting orchids that paralyzes the will. One by one, the villagers stood up. Their movements were jerky, like puppets on strings. Their eyes were glazed over, empty of thought. They began to follow him into the dark, drawn by the cello-like vibrato of his voice. He was leading them to the river. He said there was more to see. In the heart of the forest, the music of the village was a distant memory. The only sound was the shuffling of 300 feet on dry leaves. "Why have we stopped?" a young boy asked, his voice trembling in the cold mist. The traveler didn't answer. He didn't turn around. Instead, he reached up with both hands and gripped his own jaw. The sound was sickening, a wet, tearing noise like fabric ripping. His human head tilted forward, chin touching his chest, limp and useless. From the back of his skull, the hair erupted. A long, black snout, dripping with a thick, gray saliva, forced its way out. The second set of lungs began to wheeze, a deep, guttural sound like a dying engine. He began to walk backward. The Kishi doesn't just kill, it plays. It used the traveler's handsome face to beg for help, crying out in a human voice, while the hyena face on the back tore into the first victim. A duet of tragedy and hunger. Elara watched from the hollow of a baobab tree, tears mixing with the dirt on her face, as the village's future was consumed by a creature that history had forgotten to mention. The Valley of Whispers is empty now. If you go there, the wind still carries the faint sound of a cello and a laugh. The Kishi is not a legend. It is a biological fact recorded in the Forbidden Atlas. It is a reminder that the world is full of things that look like us, talk like us, and smile like us. But they are not us. So, when you meet a stranger who seems too perfect, who never shows you their back, and whose smile doesn't reach their eyes, don't be polite. Run. Because the Atlas is always looking for new entries. Don't let it be you.